In March 2025, U.S. President Trump sent shockwaves by declaring his intent to annex the icy island. But while Washington rattled sabers, Canada and Europe pulled off a diplomatic pit maneuver, securing a $3 billion critical minerals deal. In today's deep dive, we'll break down how Canada outpaced the U.S., why rare earths matter for global energy and EVs, and why this Arctic face-off is far from over. Trump's Greenland obsession revs back to life. In a raucous March 2025 speech, Trump declared, "We will get Greenland one way or another," reigniting one of his most controversial geopolitical fantasies. But this wasn't campaign fodder. Washington swiftly resurrected Cold War-era protocols like the Arctic Gap Identification Program and ramped up plans to modernize the North's radar belt. Officially, it was about national security. Unofficially, it was about minerals, and a lot of them. Geological surveys estimate Greenland holds 38 billion tons of rare earths along with molybdenum, zirconium, graphite, and over 17 billion barrels of untapped oil. It's a mineral mother lode, and Trump wanted the U.S. at the front of the line. Senator Josh Hawley framed it bluntly, "If we don't get it, Beijing will." But here's the twist. While the U.S. doubled down on military posturing and mineral rhetoric, it underestimated how others would respond. And that's exactly where Canada stepped up and took a very different line of attack. Canada quietly passes the U.S. in the Arctic lane. While Trump-era soundbites echoed through Congress, Canada kept its moves low-rev and high-impact. Rather than send ships or troops, Ottawa sent money, strategic investments paired with sharp geopolitical instincts. The stars of this silent strategy: Greenland Resources Inc. and Amarok Minerals. Greenland Resources, a modest Ontario-based outfit, rose to prominence with support from the EU's Raw Materials Alliance and the EIB. Green Fund, Denmark's LIFO, backed the deal, securing a 30-year license for the Malmberg molybdenum mine. It's a game-changer, expected to supply nearly 25% of Europe's future molybdenum demand, key for EV components, powertrain alloys, and high-strength automotive steel. Meanwhile, Amarok Minerals reignited interest in the now Lanark gold deposit with £45 million in finance from Denmark, Norway, and global investors, including quietly participating U.S. funds. Yes, American money was helping Canada secure Greenland. Unlike Washington's fire and brimstone approach, Canada built Arctic credibility with pragmatism. It didn't challenge Greenland's sovereignty. It respected it with Arctic governance, experience, and regional trust. Ottawa proved that geopolitical influence isn't always about military power. Sometimes it's about knowing when to shift gears before we delve deeper. Do us a favor. Hit like, smash that subscribe button, and stay plugged in for more. And speaking of diplomacy with horsepower, Europe wasn't about to stay in the passenger seat. Europe's diplomatic engine roars to life. Europe wasn't content to ride shotgun in this Arctic convoy. Brussels hit the gas with a strategy grounded in law, sustainability, and solidarity. Under the EU's 2023 Critical Raw Materials Act, at least 25% of key metals must come from allied eco-responsible sources. Greenland, already rich in minerals, saw an opening and took the wheel. The island's parliament passed bold measures, strict sustainability rules, profit-sharing mandates, and local employment quotas. The message was loud and clear: Greenland wouldn't be bought, it would be partnered with. Then came the Macron moment in June 2025. France's president landed in Nuuk beside Denmark's and Greenland's leaders. Greenland is not to be sold or taken, he declared, a powerful public rebuke to U.S. ambitions. That wasn't just diplomatic theater, it was a strategic deterrent wrapped in unity. European allies, already wary of Washington's blunt tactics, warned that this kind of pressure risked cracking NATO's Arctic cohesion. Denmark doubled down, offering expanded local autonomy and port investment. Greenland had gone from being seen as a passive territory to an empowered partner, one that demanded standards, not submission. But the story isn't just political, it's deeply industrial. Let's now get under the hood of the rare earth rush. The mineral race shifts gears. Rare earths and global supply chains. Greenland's real leverage isn't in its location, it's buried beneath the ice. Beyond the molybdenum and gold headlines lies the true crown jewel: rare earth elements. These minerals are essential to modern life, powering EV motors, precision missiles, wind turbines, and everything in between. The problem? China processes over 96% of the global supply. That monopoly is finally being challenged. In June 2025, the U.S. Export-Import Bank pledged $120 million to Greenland's tanneries rare earth project, aiming to churn out 85,000 tons annually by 2026. Simultaneously, the EU added Greenland-based graphite operations to its new list of critical material investments, plugging the island into both EV and aerospace supply chains. Even airlines are on board. United is launching routes to Nuuk by 2026, strengthening logistics. Yet obstacles remain. Arctic conditions make refining brutally tough. But that hasn't stopped a transatlantic coalition from laying the groundwork for a secure, diversified supply chain. One that views Greenland not as a pawn, but as a production partner in the West's mineral future. So, with resource chains tightening and alliances forming, what does the Arctic roadmap ahead really look like? Strategic partnerships redefine Arctic power dynamics. Greenland is no longer a frozen outpost. It's now central to a broader Arctic strategy reshaped by collaboration, not conquest. The new blueprint, the $3.1 billion Arctic Green Transition Fund backed by Canada, the EIB, and Norway, it prioritizes local hiring, quotas, profit sharing, and excludes U.S. governance entirely. A powerful symbol of shifting alliances, Canada leads with precision, aligning infrastructure and polar logistics with its broader Arctic defense initiatives. At the same time, Denmark deepens Greenland's autonomy, offering expanded policy powers and investment tools. These aren't token gestures, they're structural changes, cementing Greenland's position in a cooperative geopolitical network. For the U.S., the annexation dream now collides with environmental activism. NAIDO redlines and legal limitations from Alaska to Congress. Even Washington insiders are pivoting, opting for resource diplomacy over saber-rattling. Canada, playing the middle power role to perfection, aligns with EU standards, indigenous consultation, and environmental stewardship. The result? Greenland isn't being taken, it's being partnered with. The Arctic has become a proving ground for how global powers can collaborate rather than collide in pursuit of mineral security and climate goals. Which brings us to the final lap. What does this all mean for the future? Verdict: Greenland's Arctic pivot and the road ahead. So here's the final lap. Trump's annexation threat may have jump-started the conversation, but what followed was far more significant. Canada, Greenland, and Europe didn't just push back. They built a new framework for Arctic development rooted in partnership, sustainability, and sovereignty. And that's not just good diplomacy. It's the foundation for securing the rare metals that will shape the future of EVs, renewables, and aerospace tech. For gearheads and tech buffs alike, Greenland might just be the next big story in your EV's battery or your car's lightweight chassis. This isn't just a geopolitical twist, it's a turning point for the entire automotive ecosystem. So what do you think? Will U.S. financing finally shift from torque to traction? Can the Canada-EU-Greenland access hold its course against future U.S. pressure? And how should automakers react to this Arctic awakening? Let us know in the comments. We want to hear from fellow piston heads and policy geeks alike. If you enjoyed the ride, hit subscribe. Thanks for watching and see you next time. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's plenty more to explore.